Hi Flosstube, it's Kim, aka Spartan Stitcher on Instagram, and I'm here with Flosstube number 13. Today is April 22nd, Earth Day. Yesterday was Easter. I hope everybody had a good time. First off, there are a few things I'd like to say at the end of the video about Paris and Notre Dame. I found out that Notre Dame was burning last week right as I was uploading my last video, and France is very important to me. If you can read French, my shirt is a little bit of a clue, and I'll tell you about that more at the end of the video. And there's just some other anecdotes and stuff that I'll save for the end, but I'll do stitching first. So last week in the School of Magical Stitches and Literature, we visited Hogsmeade. Everyone had their permission slip signed, so you had to choose between 3 different options. You visit one store and do 1,000 stitches and say why. You try to visit all 10 stores with pieces that match all 10 stores and explain why for each store, kind of create a bit of a story. Or have a reason besides not having a permission slip to stay at Hogwarts and do 1,500 stitches on one piece of your choice. So as you guys know from my previous videos, my family has been having lots of illness, and my daughter just got over the flu and viral pneumonia. So my story is that we were under quarantine to make sure the rest of us didn't get sick, and we didn't want to spread any germs to our buddies in Hogsmeade. So I worked on one piece. I did 1,500 stitches. This is a piece that I needed to get some work done for my personal goals for the month. So that was ink circles, Big Red Ship of Life. This is the piece I'm doing 1 page every 3 months to hopefully represent the about 4 years we'll be here in North Dakota. So I'm stitching this one in DMC 3808 on 28 count mushroom even weave by MCG Textiles. So as you can see, I had already started a little bit into page 1, and I finished up both top borders on page 2, and then I also worked this center part of the mast and the top of the sail. So that was my 1,500 stitches. This did take me longer than I would have expected because last week, Monday and Tuesday, I did a lot of grading. The Ravenclaw and Gryffindor team were trying to catch up on our grading. So I graded 2 weeks last week, and I'm waiting to start a third right now, so we can try to catch up before the end of the school of year 3. So that's a good start. Now for May and June, I only have to fill in this area, which won't be as intense as that tedious border. And of course, I have my Stark winter is coming because, hello, we're in North Dakota. And today is 60 degrees. It's beautiful. Here in North Dakota, or at least for the public schools in the city I'm at, instead of a full week for spring break, they instead do 2 4-day weekends, one in March and one in April. So, or rather, one in March and then one for Easter weekend. So my oldest daughter didn't have school on Good Friday or today. So all the schools are out. However, my youngest daughter, who attends a licensed in-home preschool, did have school. So it's kind of gets difficult trying to convince the youngest to go to school when her older sister is here playing at home. So we try to talk it up and say, you're going to go visit your friends and tell them about your Easter. And we also had my in-laws here for the weekend. They drove up from the central U.S. and they always leave like the last day before school starts again, because my oldest daughter has a problem processing that they're gone and being sad. And if they left on a school morning, then she wouldn't be able to get focused back on school. So this gives her a little bit of a buffer to get back into the routine of things. And then, so that was my homework done. We also had a pop-up event last weekend in Magical Stitches, and that was for the full moon. You had to do a smaller amount because it was a holiday weekend. So 30 stitches in white or light threads, 30 stitches in dark threads to represent the light side of the moon and the dark side of the moon. And then also 30 stitches on an animal, on the actual animal, not just in your piece, to represent Professor Lupin as a werewolf. So I was lucky and was able to do all 3 tasks on one piece. And that, of course, is my whip for the 90-day challenge in full coverage phonetics. This is Oh Baby. I'm working on it every single day. So if I can count my stitches for magical stitches as well, all the better. So since I'm right down here under his eye, I had dark stitches in his face, white stitches for his star and stripe, because it's not, in horse terms, this is not wide enough to be considered a blaze. And then, of course, more stitches because it's on the animal itself. Now these are 10 stitches, so I had to double everything. So instead of 30, I did 60 for each task for 180. But again, I'm working on it every single day. It wasn't a big deal. I had it done in one night. So here's my weekly update. His face is filling in nicely. So we'll keep seeing some more shading as the light hitting the side of his face there. And you can't tell, so this white, when it's a big block like that, I'll just go ahead and take it into the next page. So when I did this page, I did that, and you can see it coming down. So only doing 60 stitches, it's not very much at all. But one thing I did in my event for my pictures is I would take my needle or my scissors and kind of point to direct the admin as to where to look for the next batch of stitches to make it a bit easier, because they could be anywhere. So I just kind of directed them as to where to look. So I had dark stitches and animal stitches and then white stitches. But luckily I was able to get Big Red Chip done on Friday. So then I still had Saturday and Sunday to work on a different piece. And what I had to work on for my personal goals that I hadn't yet touched was my whip for the Full Coverage Fanatics April monthly sale, which is Zoo or Aquarium, and which I also use for my By the Numbers 1200 piece, and that's Kindred Spirits by Jody Bergsma. I'm here on page 2, so more boring background and swirls, you know, weird areas of color with just a little bit of mane of the Frisian on there. Once I got going on this and figured out where I was, and I think the hard part on this is because it is on easy count, and all those colors on this page have like grayish tones in them. It was hard to pick out where the lines were on the easy count. But once you figure out where you are by also looking at your stitches that you've done as a guide point, it goes faster. And the more you fill it in, the easier. But when it's like really spread out, dithered like every other stitch, it's hard to figure out where you're at. So I have worked on this today already as well. So that's 3 days worth of stitching. I've put in 1,700 stitches. Because it's tent stitching for my By the Numbers 1200, I have to do 2,400. So I've got 700 more to do. And this week's homework is Havoc at Hogwarts. You have to stitch 300 stitches on a tree or foliage of some sort, or in green for the Whomping Willow, and 300 stitches on a building for the secret room, or for penalty stitches, you can do 450 stitches on a piece of your choice for the secret room because you kept the secret and didn't tell anybody. And I'm really good at keeping secrets. So I'm going to work on this again so I can double count my stitches for Full Coverage Fanatics and for magical stitches. So I've got, since I worked on this today already, I started counting today's stitches. I've got over 250 today so far. And then I've got 700 more to go for By the Numbers. So it'll all work out 450 regular stitches for 910 stitches. So that'll just about work out even between the two different counting. And I just keep a tally in two different columns to keep track. So lots and lots of swirls of different colors. If I get close, you can see all the dithering in the different colors. But as you can imagine, if you look at this spot here, when the whole piece was like that, that's what I'm talking about. It was hard to figure out where I'm at. But now I've got more solid areas. You know, I can reference off this open space or that open space, or it's easy to fill in blanks when it's only a little bit. So I will continue to work on that this week for homework. And then for my green stitches for the Whopping Willow, my other piece to fit my personal stitching goals, I want to finish this, which is Guardian Angel by Lavender and Lace. Focus. I want to finish this year. I've got a really good start going. And as you can see, the back side of her dress here is all the dark greens. And that's where I'm at. So it works out perfectly. If you look at this swag of flowers, and then there's this light green line, that's where I'm at. I'm not going to stitch the oval on this one. And if you remember, this is a remembrance piece from my 3 miscarriages. So there's where I'm at. And you can just see that light green line that I pointed out in the swag of flowers. So I still got quite a bit of dress there on the bottom to do. So 300 stitches won't be hard at all. And green. And then once I get that done and Kindred Spirits done, we'll see what else I'm going to work on this week. I have all the stitching extra credit done. I might be able to work Guardian Angel into some of the ultimate tasks. I'm not sure. I have to look at which tasks I've done and which ones I haven't. So we'll keep working on my personal goals after I get the homework done. Let's see. First I have a Hopper story. Thank you for everyone who really enjoyed my co-host last week. Because my oldest daughter is home right now, and because my husband's parents were here, he did take today off. So they're in the main part of the house. So I just kept Hopper with them. But last week, after I think it was the day after, it was either Tuesday or Wednesday, it got to like 60, 65 outside, which was really nice. And I decided, hey, it's nice enough to take the cage outside and wash it off with a hose, which is the easiest way because of all the food residue and bird poop. It's just easier to let it fall in the grass than try to have to clean up wherever it falls onto if you're just scrubbing it by hand with like a spray bottle. So I had Hopper's big cage, which is bigger than I am and about 200 pounds, 250 pounds. And I also had Hopper's travel cage, which I can lift by myself. But his travel cage has literally been sitting in a corner of the house since we got here Thanksgiving weekend. Because it was way too cold outside to go clean it outside. And I didn't want to clean up after it. And I didn't need it. So I just let it sit. Like, I can take care of it later. So I washed both cages. And while I'm doing that, Hopper's inside on the play stand that you saw him on. And he gets very excited. This is something to, tell the neighborhood about and make all kinds of comments and just be excited. And of course, once you bring the cage inside and it's clean and you're hanging the toys back up and you're putting the paper at the bottom, he gets more excited. So, and I told you, he's fully flighted, but he doesn't normally fly unless he's flying from my arm to his cage or to his stand. Well, he was about 10 feet away. And he decided he was going to take matters in his own hands. And he flew. Well, we have a golden retriever. She's a very good family dog. Her name is Liesel. as in The Sound of Music, Liesel. But Liesel is a trained hunting dog. The breeder wanted to take her into competitive field trials, but she's just not quite good enough, because once she retrieves whatever to you and sits, she does one of these things so you can't reach it from her mouth. She kind of plays keep away, but she doesn't move her body. But that's enough that you can't really compete that dog, because they'll take points off for that. But she's a great family dog and personal hunting dog if you want. Anyways, the important part is that she's been trained to retrieve dead birds from the size of doves and ducks. Well, you saw how big Hopper is. Hopper is like in between those two sizes. So it's perfect size. Liesel should be going nuts. And she does. Whenever he flies, he just watches her. And waits for Hopper to fall out of the sky. And then she'll go retrieve him. But of course that's never happened. Well, okay, so we were washing cages and Hopper wanted to get back into his cage. And I'm hanging toys and I'm setting it up and I'm not really paying attention. All of a sudden I hear Hopper fly. And he's aiming the right way, but he didn't quite make it because he's fat. So, and he still needs work on his steering. So he lands in this, it's the brand name is a Love Sack. It's a big bean bag that the dog likes to lay in. So he lands on the Love Sack, which is between the stand and the cage. And he's right by Liesel's butt. And Liesel just lays there motionless. Not sure what to do. Because she's also a very submissive dog. So she's just watching. And all of a sudden Hopper just reaches out. Kind of like how you saw him reaching for my hair. And just kind of does like this. To Liesel's butt. Not malicious. Like he wasn't lunging. He wasn't growling. And Liesel's like, I don't think so. I'm out of here. And she left. So I just thought it was so funny that here's this bird hunting dog running away from a parrot. So, of course, anytime you have a dog or a cat in a home with a bird, you should always be supervised when they're out. And we do. It's just one of those things where I feel completely comfortable in Liesel because she is never once, like, she'll go up, if he flies somewhere and lands on the floor, she'll go up and try to smell him. She hasn't even tried to do anything more than that. I have had dogs in my house that go up to the cage, little Boston Terriers or a Greyhound we tried to adopt, go up to the cage and pretty much challenge Hopper for his space with the cage door closed so Hopper couldn't get to him, but Hopper was lunging and would bite their nose. So this bird is more than capable of defending himself. Another reason why we always keep him flighted. He can escape if he needs to. So there's your funny Hopper story for the week. Let's see. Talk about France. Okay. My shirt says Ville de Tour. That's because I'm a francophone. Focus phone. Sorry, you guys haven't been in focus. My degree from Michigan State is a bachelor's in French. When I first started at Michigan State, I was a no preference major, but I did start right away in Air Force ROTC, which you can do for the first 2 years without any commitment, as long as you don't take money from the Air Force, like in a scholarship. And by the end of my first year, I had done well enough in Air Force ROTC, they wanted to offer me a 3-year scholarship, so I had to declare a major. And from my freshman year, French was the only subject that I was enjoying the most, that I was like, well, it had to be a non-technical major for the scholarship they wanted to offer me. And I really enjoyed my first year of college level French. I've been taking French since 6th grade, and I was, of course, because it was a requirement to take a language of some sort. And I really enjoyed college level French classes. So I majored in French. But at Michigan State, their French program is designed that between your sophomore and junior year, you go study abroad in their program for 2 months in the Ville de Tours. So there's a French institute there that offers summer school classes that foreign students can enter. We lived with French families. There was like 4 or 5 students from all over, not just Michigan State, from all over the world. And I took 9 credits in 2 months. We had every Wednesday off so we could go visit Le Chateau. So that was really interesting. We got, we were in the Loire Valley, so we got to see all the famous castles in the Loire Valley. And then in the middle of that 2 months, we had a week off, a week break. And I've told you that my husband is Norwegian. On his mother's side, his family is directly from Norway and Denmark. And they know family that they go visit there every few years in Norway. So I was already engaged by this time. We had a 3-year engagement because of college. So picture yourself, you're 20 years old, and your fiance's family talks you into going to visit their distant cousins in Norway by yourself. One of the cousins speaks English, and you have to fly through Denmark by yourself. You don't speak their language. And believe it or not, it all worked out. It was awesome. I spent a week with his family in Norway. I got to see the fjords. Got to see their stave churches, and it was just amazing. This was an older gentleman and his wife. His wife did not speak English. We did, I got to meet some other people from the area. Some of them spoke English. And of course, the English that you're hearing sounds like British English because, of course, they're not going to learn an American accent being in Norway. They're going to learn the UK accent, if you will. And so it was on my way back after that week. I had one day where I flew from Norway into Paris, and I had one day I could try to see as many sites in Paris as I could squeeze in before I had to take the train back to Tours. So I looking at that metro map, and I saw as much as I could see, but I couldn't really linger very many places. I did. I walked through the Louvre. I saw Le Moulin Rouge from the outside, and the Sacré-Cœur, and I saw a whole bunch of places. Well, at Notre Dame, I did go there. I saw the outside, but they had a special service going on that was. Part of it was even outside. There was priests outside passing out communion and such. So I never got to go inside Notre Dame. I have pictures of the outside because, again, I was trying to see as much as I could, and I couldn't just wait around for that service to be over so I could go visit the inside. Of course, I do want to go back to Paris, take my husband and my family, my girls, once they're old enough to get through that 7 or 8 hour flight across the Atlantic. But I am kind of sad that I never got to see the original Notre Dame now because the roof has to be rebuilt and the spire rebuilt. But France does mean a lot to me just because I studied it so much. Growing up and through college, there's a lot. And even in the Air Force, I was paid more. I had to take a fluency test, and I was paid more because of my fluency level. Now, my comprehension is a whole lot better than my speaking ability. So yeah, I'm glad that they're going to rebuild, and I'm just glad that no one else was hurt. I do think it was construction related, but I guess we'll find out more as the investigation goes on. So, let's see. The only other thing I have to say is it's almost May, which means mania. I keep going back and forth whether I'm going to do a whip mania or monogamania with Jessie Marie or do some starts. I can't decide. I have 18 whips right now. I think 10 of them are full coverage. So I could start a few more. And I just thought, There is one start that I have to do as a teacher gift for my youngest daughter for her preschool teacher. Of course, she's only been going there since January because that's when her preschool started, or was licensed and started. So, but I was looking through my pieces trying to figure out if I did Mania, what I would want to start, etc., and then looking for potential pieces. And I came up with this. I have this whole series. Stony Creek, it's in the village, so there's one for each season. This is the winter. I saw these all stitched up, excuse me, 3 years ago when I visited Dixie Darlin in Pigeon Forge or Gatlinburg, Tennessee. There's an excellent LNS there. And so once I saw them all stitched up and framed on the wall, I had to have them. They're amazing once they're stitched up. Anyways, this one, of course, you can stitch these together or one at a time. So there you see a preschool through 3rd grade school. So I'm going to stitch this one up by itself. For that top line, instead of PS through 3, I'm just going to rechart that to say pre, and then of course school right there. And I'm not sure if I'm going to leave the snow on the roof or just make it, just regular roof with shingles. And so I'll stitch that on some fabric and figure out a way to finish it for her preschool teacher, because she'll remain in that same in-home licensed preschool for next year as a four-year-old. So, when you're going to someone's home for a preschool, you kind of get to know them well. It's worth it to stitch them up something nice. So that's what I'll be stitching for her teacher. And I think that's all I have for you this week. It's going to be nice weather this week, so we're looking forward to it. One thing we did find out, where I'm at in North Dakota, is there is a northern mockingbird that makes its home in our neighborhood. We had to look this up because literally there's a bird that sings all night long. My in-laws at first thought it was a nightingale, but I did some Google searching and there's no nightingales that are native to this area. But northern mockingbirds usually only come as far north as South Dakota. However, in the past few decades, they've been coming further north. And the mockingbirds have also learned the songs of the nightingale. So the mockingbird creating the nightingale song along with other birds because of its name, the mockingbird, and it literally does sing all night long. And the days are getting extremely long here. The sun doesn't go down until almost 10 o'clock at night, and it's rising about 5:45, which will get even earlier. So it'll be interesting. We have blackout curtains to actually make it nighttime. So anyways, everybody have a good stitching week, and I will see you guys next week. Thanks, guys. Bye.